Good day, students. So for today, we will be discussing about doing philosophy. So last time sa discussion natin, you already know the definition of philosophy, right? So philosophy is all about wonders. It's all about curiosity. It's all about the study of human and the world by thinking, by reflecting, and by asking questions. So dagdagan pa natin yung kaalaman nyo about philosophy. So let's discuss first the approaches in doing philosophy. Okay, so but before that, before we discuss this lesson, let's have this activity. So this activity is called Fast Talk. Okay, so in this video, I want you to engage. Okay, so I'll be showing you different things. Mamimili kayo kung ano yung mas prefer nyo dun sa mga ipapakita ko. Ready na? Okay, let's start. Summer or winter? Girl or boy? Pink or red? Ice cream or cake? Cat or dog? Chocolate or vanilla? Adobong manok or adobong baboy? Your choice. Pogi or maganda or pangit? Be honest, ha? Face-to-face class or online class? Ito, mahal mo o mahal ka? Sige nga. Come to think of it. Ayan. Let's process. So, dun sa mga tinanong ko sa inyo kanina, may mga preferred kayong isang bagay lang. Tama? And you have your own reason bakit yun yung gusto nyo, bakit yun yung pinili nyo. And you have your own parang explanation kung bakit yun yung pinili ninyo. But dito, sa pagpili natin sa mga bagay, doon tayo nakapag-formulate ng reason natin, and doon din nagkakaroon or doon din nagre-reflect kung ano talaga yung mas pinapaniwalaan natin at kung sino tayo bilang isang tao. Okay, again, today we will be discussing about the approaches in doing philosophy. So para mas malaman nyo or mas maintindihan nyo what is philosophy, ano nga ba yung mga approaches na dapat nating intindihin, na dapat nating malaman sa pag-aaral ng philosophy. Because, di ba, nasabi ko sa inyo before sa subject orientation natin na the goal of this subject is to lead you into holistic thinking. Now, hindi kayo magkakaroon ng holistic perspective if hindi nyo to maiintindihan at hindi nyo to mauunawaan. Okay? So, what are we going to learn? First, we will learn all about analytical philosophy. Next, we will learn about speculative philosophy, reductionist philosophy, and last, we will learn about the holistic philosophy. Alright? So, again, itong apat na to, makakatulong ito sa pag-intindi nyo pa kung paano intindihin yung isang tao at the same time, paano ka magkakaroon ng holistic perspective by using this approaches in philosophy. Alright, let's start with analytical and speculative philosophy. So, analytical philosophy class is all about the analysis and definition of our fundamental concepts and consequently to clear the resolute criticism of our beliefs. So, from the word itself, analytic, okay, analytic ka, kumbaga nag-iisip ka in a logical way. Pinag-iisipan mo mabuti kung ano yung bago mo gawin yung isang bagay. Okay, so ano naman yung kaibahan nito sa speculative? So again, analytical philosophy class, it is an approach that focuses on the matters of logic. That's the keyword, logic. The act of analyzing statements, arguments that are coherently true. Okay, so that is analytical. From the word itself, analytic, mas pinag-iisipan mo, kailangan matalino yung pag-iisip mo bago mo gawin yung action na yon. And it is all based on logic. Bakit? One goal of this approach is to lead you into coherently true ideas. Okay, yun sa kung ano lang yung totoo, kung ano lang yung 100% accurate na bagay or sinasabi. Next, we have the speculative philosophy. Sa speculative philosophy class, it is all about trying to find an underlying explanation or general principles that could explain reality in its entirety. From the word itself, trying to find. Okay? Unlike analytical philosophy, wala siyang accurate data. Hindi siya 100% sure. Why? Because it's all about giving speculations to arrive at a certain conclusion. Diba? Yan tayo sa mga speculation na yan. Yan tayo sa mga hinala na yan. Okay, so that is all about speculative philosophy. Again, analytical philosophy, it is an approach that uses more logic, okay, analytical way. Next, speculative, it is more on opinion. It is more on trying to find. Okay? It's more on about speculation. Hindi sure, 100% sure. Okay? So, para mas maintindihan nyo, focus tayo sa isa, sa analytical philosophy. Or para mas maintindihan nyo itong dalawang to sa analytical and speculative philosophy, let's try this activity. Let's understand this self-activity. I'm sure alam nyo to or sobrang familiar kayo dito sa bet na to. Okay? So, ang una, which came first? The egg or the chicken? Place your bets. Sa tingin nyo, alin ang nauna or ano ang nauna? Itlog o manok? Sige nga. Maring naiisip nyo ngayon or sinasabi nyo na itlog and then you have your own reason. Sinasabi nyo din na manok and then you have your own reason. Pero, paano ba natin to sasagutin? Itong tanong na to, sobrang tagal na nitong tanong na to. Pero, tingnan natin kung masasagot itong tanong na to dito sa lesson na to. Isa-isahin natin. Una, sa tanong na which came first. Okay, so ang pinaka-problema dito, or ang pinaka-kailangan nating masagot dito is the question which came first. Tama? Pero ang alam nyo ba, ang which came first, or itong tanong na to, is what we call the perennial problem. Sa perennial problem class, it is all about lasting or existing for a long or apparently infinite time. Ibig sabihin, itong tanong na to na alin ang nauna or which came first is a kind of perennial problem. Ibig sabihin, matagal na. Matagal ng problema to, wala pa rin sagot. Okay? So, now, isa-isahin natin. Una, itong tanong na to, which came first. Next, meron tayong iba't ibang sagot. Maaaring ang sagot nyo ay itlog. Maaaring sagot nyo ay manok. Pero sa analytical and speculative philosophy, ito ang sinasabi. Unahin muna natin sa itlog. So kung naniniwala ka na ang itlog ang nauna, here's the explanation. So looking into science, we can never doubt Darwin's theory of evolution, okay, which literally proves and answers our perennial problem. So kung naniniwala ka na ang itlog ang nauna, meron siyang backup or meron siyang RRL, which is the theory of evolution of Charles Darwin. According to that theory, diba, that species evolves over time. Okay? Walang species na nagsisimula sa malaki agad. Okay? Nag-e-evolve sila. Okay? Dahil nag-e-evolve dahil sinasabi nun sa theory na yun na nag-e-evolve ang lahat ng species, dito hindi natin maki-question na syempre ang nauna ay itlog. Kasi pag lumaki si itlog, nagiging manok. Another RRL or another supporting ideas na nagsasabi na ang itlog ang nauna. According to an article written by Fabry, evolutionary biology provides literal answers that chickens had ancestors that were not chickens. So naniniwala si Fabry class, according to evolutionary biology, na ang mga manok daw ay meron silang ancestors. Pero ang ancestors nila o mga ninuno nila ay hindi manok. Okay, so dito napapatunayan na ang itlog pa rin talaga ang nauna. So, ibig sabihin, ang sinasabi dito, ang ninuno or galing ang manok sa itlog. Naiintindihan nyo? Nagkakaroon na ba kayo ng idea? Next, punta naman tayo sa chicken. Okay, ano naman yung pinaglalaban ng sagot ng chicken? So, one strong argument that they hold is the creation story from the book of Genesis. Diba? So, based tayo sa Bible. Based tayo sa Bible. Sabi dito sa Genesis 1:21, okay, thus God created mature birds with the ability to reproduce. Kaya ka naniniwala na ang chicken ang nauna because according to the Bible itself, according to the creation story in Genesis, na God created first the mature birds and para meron siyang ability to reproduce. But if you're going to look at it, meron na namang clash, and this clash is the clash of science and religion. Why? Because it's science, it proves something that is coherently tangible. May 100% data sila. Nagsabi nila na totoo yon kasi nagkaroon ng experiment ang mga scientists. Okay? It was supported with vast proofs of information. Okay, so that's science. But, on the other hand, religion sticks to what people believe to be true. Faith has become a guiding force to support claims that are difficult to apprehend. Kumbaga, pag may mga bagay tayong hindi maintindihan, pero pag once na nagsabi na or pag once na may kinalaman na si Bible or yung faith natin, nagkakaroon ng kalinawan. Tama? Okay, kaya nga minsan, di ba, si science at si religion, matagal nang magkaaway yan. Hindi sila magkasundo. Kahit sa mga debate, di ba? Sa mga debate, ang kailangan talaga natin is supported vast evidence. Okay, kailangan meron siyang 100% accurate data pag once na nakikipag-debate tayo. Pero 'di ba, kung mapapansin niyo sa debate, pag once na sinamahan na niya ng Bible verse or pag once na sinamahan niya na ng God, wala ka nang masasabi. Kasi akala natin, yung religion, siya yung may sagot sa lahat. Pag once na sinama na natin sa picture si religion or yung faith natin, tama na yung side na yon. Okay? Pero ano ba talaga yung tamang sagot dito? Sino nga ba yung nauna or ano nga ba ang nauna? Yung itlog or yung manok? Class, the real issue here is not to answer such perennial problem. Okay, ang pinaka-goal natin dito is hindi talaga maintindihan or hindi masagot yung perennial problem. Kaya nga siya tinawag na perennial problem. Problema na siya, matagal na. Okay, so dito, the real issue is that we just use analytical and speculative philosophy in that argument. Okay? We use this perennial problem to deeply understand the concept of analytical and speculative approach in philosophy. Tingnan natin. Kapag ikaw or kung yung sagot mo kanina ay itlog or naniniwala ka na ang nauna ay itlog, o nauna dito sa dalawang to ay itlog, you just used analytical philosophy. Why? Because you analyze, okay, we think, we logically presented arguments to prove its existence. Diba, tiningnan natin to or sinabi natin yung theory ni Charles Darwin. Tama? Okay? So that is analytical philosophy. Now, kung ikaw naman ay naniniwala na ang nauna ay manok, ang ginamit mo ay speculative philosophy. Why? Because we speculate, we relied on myths and stories and came up with such truth. Okay? Bakit siya naging speculative philosophy? Kasi wala pa naman siyang ang theory or ang creation story class, hindi pa talaga siya 100% sure na pinapaniwalaan natin. That's why naka-anchor pa rin siya or naka-under pa rin siya sa speculative philosophy. Again, si science at si religion, hindi sila magkatagpo. That's why speculative philosophy, when we relied on myths, when we relied on stories, that is speculative philosophy. Okay? So now, siguro nagkaroon na kayo ng idea, okay, about this argument, about this perennial problem. But of course, we won't be settling for that or for those area lang. Okay, so let's dig deeper. So, analytical philosophy class, actually, itong dalawang to ang nag-push or sumuport dito sa approach ng analytical philosophy. Historically speaking, this analytical approach in philosophy was given birth during the 20th century through Moore and Bertrand Russell, okay, as they broke away from the ideology absolute idealism. So, itong dalawang to ang sumuporta sa approach ng analytical philosophy. Well, according to these two great thinkers, sabi nila, they used linguistic idiom, or they frequently basing their arguments on the meanings of terms and propositions, which is, according to Russell class, language and grammar are philosophically misleading, okay? Especially when we do not consider the context of the statement, or it may create illusions to others. That's why, sabi dito, or sabi ng philosopher na to na si Russell, pag once na umiintindi tayo, or pag once na nagbabasa tayo ng context or ng sentence, parang he suggested that we read between the lines. Okay, examine the language. We should examine first the language and see the true logical form of the context. Hindi lang basta-basta yung magbabasa, okay, sige, basahin natin yan. Pero, i-examine natin. We read between the lines. Like for example, the question which came first. Okay? Ano nga ba yung sinasabi doon? Or ano nga ba yung pilit nitong pinaparating? Itong question na to na which came first? Alin nga ba yung nauna? Ano ba yung unang na-discover? Ano yung essence nitong tanong na to na which came first? Alright, so sa pag-aaral class ng analytical approach or analytical philosophy, sabi nitong dalawang to, again, kailangan natin intindihin muna yung context, yung sentence ng hinihingi or yung tinatanong mismo. Kasi 'di ba analytical philosophy is more on about logic. It's more on about pinag-iisipan mo ng mabuti. Okay? So meron dalawang task, okay, sa pag-intindi or sa paggagawa or sa paggamit ng analytical approach or ng analytical philosophy. The first one is, of course, to know the facts. Okay? Not just the context of the language or grammar, but also the information that the words convey. Okay? Hindi lang dapat tayo nakadepende na itong sentence na to, tama na yan. Correct grammar naman siya. Pero, tama naman yung grammar, pero ano nga ba yung pinaparating nito? Ano nga ba yung pinaka-essence or context nung sentence na yon? For example, the ball is always round. If you're going to look at it, wala namang mali sa grammar. Tama? Walang mali sa grammar. The ball is always round. 100% correct. Pero kapag tinitigan mo at pagwas na paulit-ulit mong binasa, the ball is always round, parang nagkakaroon siya ng misconception or medyo nagiging mali siya in a way. Why? Sabi dyan, the ball is always round. Paano naman yung gantong ball? Round ba siya? 'Di ba? So, ngayon, it's important to know the facts. And at the same time, after knowing the facts, magtanong kayo, what kind of ball are you referring to? Kahit tama yung grammar na yan, kahit tama yung sentence na yan, pero ano nga ba yung pinaparating nito? Ano nga ba yung context nito? That's how you do analytical philosophy. Second, examine and criticize our beliefs. We should take away all our biases. Like for example, the Muslim people, okay, we have this notion or we have this stigma sa mga Muslim na haters of Christians, nakakatakot, masama. So we have this mindset sa kanila. Kinakatakutan natin ang mga Muslim. But in doing analytical approach class, you should take away all your biases. Kailangan, kahit ganun yung pinapaniwalaan mo, huwag mo muna siyang iisipin kasi you're doing analytical approach eh. It's more on about logic. It's more on about you are thinking or you are parang you are explaining analytically. Okay, so dito, analytical philosophy helps us not just to know the facts, to correct grammar, and to examine the context, but most importantly, is to take away all the unnecessary biases in our intellectual mind. Kaya nga, di ba, again sa debate, ang pinaka-approach talaga na kailangan natin sa isang debate is analytical approach. Why? Kasi you are presenting 100% accurate data. You are presenting information na mayroong mga proof. Right? So dito, iaalisin muna natin yung bias natin. Aalisin muna natin yung own opinion natin. Kasi when we talk about opinion or own opinion, that is another approach. Okay? So the analytical approach class is more about thinking logically, thinking analytically, and thinking in a way na ina-explain mo talaga ng 100% sure. Alright? Again, talking about opinion, kailangan hindi natin sinasabi o hindi natin mas pinapanigan yung opinion natin. Bakit? That's not an analytical approach. Our opinion or yung opinion natin is more on in speculative approach. So let's talk about the speculative philosophy. So opinions are based on beliefs that somehow may arrive at a certain truth. But here, Not all opinions are true, yet opinions are gateway to the truth if proven true. Wala namang masama sa opinion. But the thing is, sa speculative philosophy, or pag once na sinabihan natin, or pag once na ang approach natin ay analytical, syempre, hindi masyadong tinatanggap si opinion. Okay? Pero si opinion, sabi nga nila, hindi naman siya ganun katotoo, or hindi naman siya all the time 100% sure, pero kapag once na nag-provide ka ng different proofs and evidences, pwedeng yung opinion na yon, it will lead you to, or it could be proven true. Right? So, speculative philosophy, going back to the chicken argument, we somehow attach our beliefs with a certain truth that matters, right? So, kahit hindi ka religious na tao, or kahit hindi ka sisimba, kayang-kaya mong mag-arrive or kayang-kaya mong gumawa ng conclusion, or kayang-kaya mong gumawa ng speculation that is written on the Bible, or that is written on the different stories. Kasi that's your speculation, that's your opinion, right? So, dito, speculative philosophy is a philosophy professing to be founded upon intuitive or a priori insight. It's lacking empirical basis. When we say empirical basis, class, it's more on about the observation. Okay, so dito kaya siya naglalak ng empirical basis kasi speculative philosophy is more on about speculation, it's more on about opinion. Okay, kaya siya naglalak ng empirical basis. Hindi mo naman kasi talaga na-observe yun. Hindi mo naman kasi talaga na nakita yon. Okay, it's more on about your opinion. Okay, so here, I have a question to you. Okay? I want you to think about it. Okay? Actually, itong tanong na to sobrang mahirap. I think. Okay? This question is, does God exist? So you have your own reason. You have your own point. Okay? You have your own belief. Kung talaga bang nag-e-exist si God. Right? But whatever answers you may have, for as long as you proved your stand to be true, that's how speculative approach works. Why? Because you are speculating something. Okay, you are basing your arguments in your opinions, you are basing your arguments sa Bible or sa mga stories, so on and so forth. That's how speculative approach works. Naintindihan ba? Again, analytical philosophy is more about logic, and speculative philosophy is more about opinion. Now, let's go to the different or other two approaches in philosophy. Let's discuss about the reductionist and holistic philosophy. Okay, so just an overview about these two approaches. So reductionism is the belief that human behavior can be explained by breaking it down into simpler component parts. Okay, kumbaga iniisa-isa mo muna yung bawat part. Iniintindi mo muna yung bawat part bago mo talaga intindihin sila ng buo. Kasi dito sa reductionism class, from the word itself, reduction, inuunti-unti mo muna, mas iniisa-isa mo, kumbaga, inaalam mo muna kung ano yung maliit na detalye na yun bago mo intindihin yung pinaka-buo. Okay? Holism class, it is a theory that parts of a whole are in the intimate interconnection, okay, such that they cannot exist independently of the whole or cannot be understood without reference to the whole, which is thus regarded as greater than the sum of its part. Holism class is more about thinking the bigger picture, the wholeness, the totality. Mas naiintindihan mo daw ang isang bagay kapag tiningnan mo siya in a bigger picture, kapag tiningnan mo siya ng kabuuan. Okay? So para mas maintindihan nyo itong dalawang to, let's examine this simple example. Okay? So this picture is called Gundam plastic model. Okay? So alam ko meron yung iba sa inyo merong ganto, merong mga collection ng ganyan, pero dito sa left part ng screen ninyo, makikita nyo yung bawat part ng Gundam plastic model na to. Okay? Nandyan yung ulo, andyan yung paa, andyan yung katawan, andyan yung espada niya. So this is an example of reductionist philosophy. This is an example of reductionism. Why? Kasi dito, inaalam mo muna yung function ng bawat isa. Dito, magtatanong ka, kapag hindi ko ba sinet up yung paa, tatayo ba to? Kapag hindi ko ba sinet up yung ulo, magiging maganda kaya to? Okay, so inaalam mo muna yung function ng bawat parts. Next, sa right side ng screen nyo, makikita nyo yung buong Gundam plastic model. And that's the example of holistic philosophy. It's all about the totality, yung kabuuan mismo. Makikita nyo dyan na pag once na nabuo na siya, maganda tingnan. Buo, hindi hiwa-hiwalay. Okay, so that's the approach, or that's the two different approach in philosophy, the reductionist philosophy and the holistic philosophy. Again, para mas maintindihan nyo yung dalawang ito, let's analyze your face. I want you to picture out your face. Ayan. Alam nyo naman siguro kung ano yung mga mukha ninyo, di ba? May mata kayo, may ilong, may bibig, may tenga, may kilay, may pisngi, so on and so forth. Now, as you imagine your face right now, tingnan nyo or isipin nyo, alin dyan sa face na yan, yung sobrang favorite ninyo. Yes. Ano yung pinaka-favorite part nyo dyan sa face ninyo, sa mukha ninyo? Kung papansin ninyo, di ba, yung mata, yung ilong, yung bibig, magkakaiba sila or parang by part sila. Hindi sila talaga like parang dikit-dikit. Okay, may sarili-sarili silang ano dyan, may sarili silang place. Okay, may sariling place yung mata, yung ilong, yung bibig. Ayan, so na-analyze nyo na. So after you analyze your face, class, I want you to answer these questions. First, which part of your face has the most important function? Sige nga, ano dyan sa mukha ninyo, yung sa tingin nyo, may importanteng function, na kapag wala yan, hindi ka na makakapag-function ng buo. Second, which part of your face is the most used part? Alin dyan yung gamit na gamit? Yung buong araw nyo, ginagamit nyo na hanggang sa matulog kayo, buong taon nyo or buong buhay nyo, gamit na gamit siya. Next, is there a connection among the parts of your face? Explain. Why? Yes or no? Okay, may connection ba yan? Okay, may connection ba yung mga bawat part? Yung mata, may connection ba siya sa ilong? May connection ba siya sa bibig? Yung pisngi, may connection ba siya sa kilay? May connection ba siya sa tenga? Okay? So, iba-iba man kayo class ng sagot. Okay? Iba-iba man kayo ng sinasabi nyo na ito yung mas importante sa aking part. Okay? Ito yung pinakagamit na gamit na part. And maaaring ang sagot nyo ay yes, meron silang connection sa isa't isa kasi pag once na nawala yung paningin mo, pag nawala yung mata mo, hindi ka na makakakita. Pag once na nawala yung pang-amoy mo, paano ka na makakapag-go through? And yan, sa bibig nyo, pag once na nawalan yan ng panlasa, may COVID ka na. Joke lang. Ayan, so kung papansin ninyo, yung though iba-iba sila ng place, iba-iba sila ng lugar, pero meron silang connection sa isa't isa. Okay, at hindi pwedeng mawala yung isa dyan kasi nga mahirap kang mag-function. Class, yun yung idea ng reductionist philosophy. Okay, so sa reductionist philosophy class, ito ay pinush ng philosopher na to, si René Descartes. Okay, according to René Descartes class, inalintulad niya tayo sa clockwork mechanism, sa orasan. Kung titingnan natin ang orasan, yung bawat part ng orasan, okay, the battery, yung iniikutan para mag-set ng oras, yung seconds, yung minute, okay? So lahat ng yun yung mechanism ng clock. Now, sabi ni Descartes, or according to Descartes, ganun daw ang reductionist philosophy. You try to break the yung second sa orasan. Sa tingin nyo malalaman natin yung tamang oras? Or parang you try to put away the battery or tanggalin nyo yung battery. Sa tingin nyo gagana yung orasan? Hindi. Tama? So that's how reductionist philosophy. Kumbaga dito, inaalam mo muna yung function ng bawat parts. Kasi yung function na yon ay importante sa pag-work ng kabuuan. Okay? Importante yung bawat part na yun. Kahit maliliit lang yan na part na yan, importante pa din yun sa bawat mechanism or sa isang bagay. Okay? So dito, yan, Descartes would like us to understand that machine can only be understood if we take its pieces apart. and examine each before putting it back together to comprehend the bigger picture. Kumbaga dito sa reductionist philosophy class, sinasabi nito na hindi mo daw maiintindihan yung kabuuan kapag hindi mo muna inintindihan yung bawat part. Diba merong kasabihan nun na saka mo lang malalaman yung kahalagahan ng isang tao or ng isang bagay kapag nawala siya sa'yo. So that is reductionist philosophy. Okay, so from the word itself, reduce or breaking down the pieces, reducing all that is in it to fully realize the truth of the matter. It's all about appreciating the parts, knowing the function of its parts. Kasi meron yun part, okay, sa pagbuo ng bigger picture. Okay, so that is reductionist philosophy. Now let's go to holistic philosophy. So holistic philosophy class, this approach in philosophy, something can be more than the sum of its parts. Meaning to say, we shall understand that everything, all in reality, all that is comprehensible as a whole. Kabuuan. Just like its origin, holos, it came from the Greek word holos, which means all, total or whole. The totality of one thing. Okay, so dito sa holistic philosophy, dito mo na iniintindi the bigger picture. Kumbaga, yung approach na to, mas iniintindi mo yung holistic perspective, yung kabuuan mismo. Okay, so in this approach or holistic philosophy, pinush to ng, of course, known philosopher which is Aristotle. Okay, so this approach in philosophy was summed up by Aristotle in his Metaphysics. Okay, so in this approach class or in holistic philosophy, again, you are focusing on the bigger picture. The only difference of these two classes, the reductionist philosophy or the holistic philosophy, is their focus. Why? Reductionist philosophy, their focus is the part, right? Yung bawat parte. But yung focus nitong holistic philosophy, yung kabuuan, yung totality. Right? So the fundamental assumption underpinning the holistic perspective is that the priorities of the parts contribute to the understanding of the whole. So syempre, dito sa holistic philosophy, kakailanganin niya yung approach ng reductionist philosophy. Why? Because the relevance of the wholeness of being is defined by the parts of it. Okay? Bago mo maintindihan yung kabuuan, kailangan mo munang intindihin yung bawat part nito. Meaning, there is interconnectedness among the parts of the subject matter. Kaya hindi mo maiintindihan yung kabuuan kapag hindi mo muna naintindihan yung bawat part. Okay? So, meaning, holistic philosophy, kailangan niya din ng approach. Though magkaiba sila. Pero si holistic philosophy, kumbaga, kailangan niya ng approach, kailangan niya ng perspective ng reductionist philosophy for you to have a holistic perspective in life. Right? So holism helps us to take away our prejudices in such a way that we focus on the wholeness, not by part. Okay? So dito class, para mas maintindihan nyo yung dalawa, the reductionist and holistic philosophy, I'll give you an example. Diba? For example, my favorite food is spaghetti. Ayan. My favorite food is spaghetti. And then alam ko kung ano yung mga ingredients ng spaghetti. Meron siyang meat. Gusto ko yung spaghetti ko may maraming giniling, maraming hotdog, masos. Gusto ko sobrang overloaded ng cheese. Now, kapag in a reductionist approach or kapag ginamitan ko siya ng reductionist approach in philosophy, kumbaga, pag tiningnan ko or kapag wasa kumain ako ng spaghetti, mas magpo-focus ako sa part niya or sa bawat ingredient niya. Like for example, pag tinikman ko yung spaghetti, pwede kong masabi na parang kulang ng giniling, kulang ng hotdog, or ba't parang kulang ng cheese? Kasi mas importante sa'yo or mas nagpo-focus ka sa bawat ingredient, sa bawat part nung spaghetti. But sa perspective naman ng holistic approach or ng holistic philosophy, basta makita kong spaghetti yan, okay lang. Regardless of kung kulang sa hotdog, kung kulang sa giniling, or kung kulang sa cheese. Basta masabi ko or nakita ko siya, na spaghetti siya, kakainin ko siya. Okay, again, holistic philosophy is more about, or its focus is on the bigger perspective, is on the bigger picture. Right? So I hope you got something. Again, analytical approach or analytical philosophy is more about logic, in thinking in an analytical way. Speculative philosophy is more about opinion, trying to find an underlying ideas. Next, reductionist philosophy, you are focusing more on its parts. Okay, from the word itself, produce. And lastly, holistic philosophy, your focus is on the totality of the thing. Okay, so I hope you got something. Again, these 4 approaches in philosophy will help you to really understand or to have the holistic perspective in life. Okay, so ngayon, i-assess nyo yung sarili nyo. Minsan, nagawa nyo na tong approach na to. Okay, hindi nyo lang napapansin noon, pero the moment you heard this lesson, may mga naisip na kayong mga sitwasyon sa nyo na nagamitan nyo ng analytical approach, nagamitan nyo ng speculative approach, nagamitan nyo ng reductionist approach, and the holistic approach. Okay, so I want to hear those or yung mga sitwasyon, yung mga experience nyo sa bawat approach na to. So, abangan nyo sa classroom natin, magpo-post ako ng application. Right? So, thank you for listening and thank you for participating in this lecture video. And I hope naintindihan nyo yung lesson natin ngayon. Right? Thank you and see you online.
Waking up knowing there's a reason. All my dreams come alive. Life is for living. With you, I've made my decision. You lift me up, fill me